One lonely businessman stopped for a homeless little girl the world had forgotten. He had no idea she would one day save everything he had.
Dad, I'm here.
The courtroom fell silent the moment the young woman pushed open the heavy oak doors. More than 200 executives, lawyers, reporters, and investors turned their heads at once. At the center of the room sat a man whose billion-dollar business empire was collapsing before his eyes, accused of crimes he never committed, abandoned by trusted partners, and only minutes away from losing everything he had spent 30 years building. Then the woman stepped forward, holding a worn leather folder close to her heart, tears shining in her eyes as she looked straight at him. Her voice trembled, yet carried across the entire courtroom with undeniable strength. "Dad, I'm here." The man froze. 15 years earlier, he had found her alone beneath a freezing bridge with nothing but an old backpack and frightened eyes. He had given her food, a home, and a family when the world had forgotten she existed. Now, on the darkest day of his life, she had returned to keep a promise she had silently carried for 15 years. Before we continue this unforgettable story, if you believe kindness always comes back, no matter how many years pass, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that remind us hope is never truly lost. 15 years earlier, in the quiet city of Columbus, Ohio, Nathaniel Brooks was already a respected businessman. Although his technology company had grown into one of the fastest rising firms in America, his personal life had completely fallen apart after his beloved wife, Grace, passed away following a sudden illness. She had left behind only memories and an empty house that echoed with silence every evening. Friends urged Nathaniel to remarry, but he never considered replacing the woman he loved. Instead, he buried himself in work, convincing himself that success could somehow fill the emptiness inside his heart. It never did. One icy December night, while driving home after another exhausting meeting, Nathaniel noticed a tiny figure sitting beneath an overpass during a snowstorm. Most cars passed without slowing down, but something made him stop. Wrapped inside an oversized jacket with holes in the sleeves sat an 8-year-old girl trying desperately to warm her frozen hands. Her face was pale, her cheeks stained with tears, yet she still managed to smile politely when he approached. Her name was Abigail Carter. She explained that both of her parents had died months earlier, relatives had abandoned her, and after running away from an abusive shelter, she had been surviving on scraps and sleeping wherever she could hide. Nathaniel intended to buy her a hot meal and contact social services. Instead, he found himself listening to her stories for hours. She never complained about her suffering. She worried more about the stray dog she shared food with than about herself. Before the night ended, Nathaniel realized he could not leave her behind. The empty seat beside him in the car suddenly felt as though it had been waiting for her all along. The adoption process lasted several difficult months. Lawyers questioned his motives. Newspapers criticized the wealthy executive adopting a homeless child. Some board members even warned that such publicity could damage the company's image. Nathaniel ignored every opinion except one. Every evening Abigail waited at the foster home window, believing he would return. He always did. When the adoption was finally approved, she hugged him with such overwhelming joy that years of loneliness disappeared from his heart in a single moment. That day he promised never to let her feel unwanted again. Life slowly transformed for both of them. Nathaniel learned that success meant little without someone to share it with. Abigail filled their home with laughter, kindness, and warmth. She studied tirelessly, volunteered at homeless shelters every weekend, and refused expensive gifts, saying she already possessed the greatest treasure any child could receive, a father who chose her. She excelled in school, earned scholarships, and eventually attended one of America's top law schools. Every achievement she dedicated to Nathaniel because she believed every opportunity she had existed only because one stranger had stopped his car during a snowstorm. As the years passed, Nathaniel's company expanded internationally, employing thousands across the United States. Yet enormous success attracted dangerous enemies. A ruthless competitor named Victor Harlan secretly orchestrated a massive financial conspiracy designed to destroy Brooks Technologies. Fake accounting records were planted. Trusted executives were bribed. Confidential documents disappeared. Within weeks, government investigators launched criminal proceedings. Investors panicked. Stock prices collapsed. News channels declared Nathaniel's empire finished before the trial had even begun. Nathaniel refused to run away. He insisted the truth would eventually emerge, but evidence seemed overwhelming. Former friends testified against him. Employees he had helped build careers betrayed him to protect themselves. Even his closest advisors quietly resigned, believing defeat was inevitable. Abigail had recently accepted an international legal fellowship and was working on federal financial investigations in Washington, D.C. Nathaniel intentionally kept the crisis hidden from her because he never wanted her future sacrificed trying to rescue him. One evening, Abigail accidentally saw a news report showing her father entering federal court surrounded by cameras. The man who had once rescued her now looked exhausted, older, and completely alone. She immediately requested emergency leave, gathered years of financial research she had quietly completed regarding corporate fraud, and flew home to Ohio. During the flight, she reviewed every public document connected to the investigation. Something did not make sense. Hidden among thousands of financial transactions, she noticed identical electronic signatures appearing from different states at impossible times. Someone had manufactured evidence using sophisticated digital manipulation. The morning of the final court hearing arrived with devastating expectations. Reporters crowded outside. Employees filled the courtroom hoping for a miracle they no longer believed could happen. Nathaniel sat quietly beside his attorneys, prepared to lose everything except his integrity. Then the courtroom doors opened. Abigail entered wearing a simple cream-colored suit, carrying the leather folder Nathaniel had given her on the day she graduated from law school. For a moment neither of them spoke. Nathaniel simply stared in disbelief as the little girl he had once carried through a snowstorm now stood before him as a confident attorney. She wasn't there merely as his daughter. She was there armed with evidence capable of exposing the entire conspiracy. Over several dramatic hours, Abigail carefully dismantled every accusation. She presented encrypted server records, forensic accounting reports, independent cybersecurity analyses, and hidden emails connecting Victor Harlan to multiple bribed executives. Experts confirmed that critical evidence against Nathaniel had been fabricated months before investigators even opened the case. One by one, witnesses admitted they had accepted money in exchange for false testimony. The courtroom atmosphere shifted from certainty to disbelief. By late afternoon, the truth became impossible to deny. The judge dismissed every major accusation against Nathaniel and immediately ordered criminal investigations into those responsible for manufacturing the conspiracy. Investors who had abandoned Brooks Technologies publicly apologized. Employees stood and applauded. Reporters who had predicted Nathaniel's downfall instead witnessed one of the greatest legal reversals in recent business history. Nathaniel remained seated, unable to absorb everything that had happened. Abigail walked toward him with tears filling her eyes. He remembered the frightened little girl beneath the bridge, the first warm meal they shared, the bedtime stories, the school graduations, every birthday, every scraped knee, every proud moment that had led to this day. The empire had been saved, but at that moment none of the buildings, contracts, or billions mattered. The greatest investment he had ever made had never been in technology. It had been in one forgotten child. Months later, Brooks Technologies launched a nationwide foundation dedicated to homeless children across America. Every shelter funded by the organization carried a simple message engraved near the entrance. One act of kindness can rewrite an entire future. Abigail became the foundation's legal director while continuing her work protecting vulnerable children from exploitation. Nathaniel often visited the very bridge where they first met, leaving blankets, food, and handwritten notes, reminding struggling families that tomorrow could still hold hope. People frequently asked Nathaniel how he managed to rebuild his empire after nearly losing everything. He always smiled gently because they misunderstood the story. His empire had not been saved inside a courtroom. It had been saved 15 years earlier when he chose compassion instead of convenience. Every victory afterwards simply grew from that single decision. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that even the smallest act of kindness can change generations, please support the channel by liking this video, sharing it with your family and friends, leaving your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing so more people can discover stories filled with hope, compassion, and second chances. Before you go, please write this in the comments. Kindness always comes home. Your words may inspire someone who desperately needs hope today. Nathaniel once believed he had rescued a homeless little girl from the streets of Ohio. In truth, they had rescued each other. She gave purpose to his lonely heart, and years later, she protected not only the business he had built but also the legacy of love he had chosen over fear. Their story became living proof that when kindness is given without expecting anything in return, life has an extraordinary way of bringing it back exactly when it is needed most. And sometimes, the child you save today becomes the hero who saves your world tomorrow.